and welcome to the Fat Squirrel Speaks. Today is Friday, February 11th, and this is episode 310. I'm Amy Beth, also known as the Fat Squirrel on Ravelry and the Fat SQRRL on Instagram. Thanks for coming to visit. So I have no idea how to, so I'm just gonna. Today's energy will probably be a little bit different than you're used to. My papa, also known as my grandfather, passed away. How lucky am I? I'm 43. He was my last grandparent, but I've been so lucky to have both him and my mama into my adult life to see me have a child and I'm just very, very lucky. And we've known for a while. He had, I don't know he was a private person. So I will just say that he was fading, and he has been fading for a while. And in fact, I feel like most of us have said goodbye to him a while ago. Even before my grandmother passed, he was fading a bit from us. So it's a weird, what grief isn't weird, right? Like, there's no prescribed way to grieve about things or to experience a death or to move through a family's loss. But I can certainly do it with a lot of gratitude for so many good memories that I have of he and my grandmother, of just what warm people they were, and as you move through the world, you recognize that not everybody is able to be that warm and to be that generous for whatever reason. But I was very lucky to have them in my life to show me that that is possible, to show me that you can have lots of gratitude over very small things that are quite large. Anyway, I'm sounding goofy and stumbly and weird because hi. But yeah, until I was in high school, later in high school, they took me to Lake Erie every year, and we went fishing every year. And it was amazing. It was crazy, because for Papa, fishing was a job. He was not a lounging around. My family are all teetotalers, so there was definitely no drinking beers in a hammock situation. It was, get up and get on the lake at dawn, fish your limit, come home, potentially clean those fish, grab a little something to eat, and get back out. Now, not every day was like that. There were days that were not good weather. I have many fond memories of listening to the Weather Channel on a little black maybe there was FM. I don't even know, because we would stay on an island and there was not, my family never were my grandmother played piano and was musical and sang in the choir and things like that, but they were not necessarily people just to have music on in the background. So actually I don't even know if that, I'm sure the radio had FM, but we would always listen to the weather report out of Ashtabula, Ohio. Listen to the swell forecast and see what the waves were going to look like. And so days, or days that it just, we were tired or something. It wasn't it was brutal. It was, my poor mama, I'm sure, did think it was brutal because she had to do she was the one that did all the packing and all the cooking and that kind of stuff. So, she probably did think it was brutal and really would have, again, liked to have been in a hammock somewhere, at least with a fruity drink, if not an alcoholic one. But we would go in the Ford pickup. He worked for Ford, so he was a union guy, so there was always a Ford truck. And it had the cap on it So he and my mama would load the truck up at like 3 or 4 in the morning on the day we would go, because he wanted to get there for the first ferry, which was I think at like 8 or something. And he would always leave a space for me in the back of the truck, like enough of a width for me to lay down, which was like, that as a kid, as a kid, I thought it was cool and fun, but I didn't also understand like the prime real estate that my body was occupying. When you're packing to go to an island that did not at the time, like not until I was probably in junior high school, did not even have a grocery store. It had like a little, like at the ferry, had milk that was like $4 a gallon, which back then was bananas. We're talking like in the 80s. So like he would do that, and then we would drive there, and then we would go to, it was in Port Clinton when I was little, and then it moved to a different place as I got older. But in Port Clinton, there was this restaurant that was close to the dock, and we would always go there for breakfast because he would always get there early because he was very much a early is on time is late kind of person. We would have breakfast, and then he would get like a box of a dozen plain cake donuts, which as a kid was just like torture. And now as an adult, those are my favorite. So yeah, it'd be nice to get to transport, to sit at Jim Bretz's Formica table with the silver, like aluminum or whatever it is, metal edging, like that very 50s, 60s, like dinette kind of like look. So I'd really like to do that and have coffee and a plain donut with them. But hey, hopefully that's what they're doing together somewhere in the universe. But hopefully my mom didn't have to pack anything. So yeah. They were great. They are great. And I'm very lucky. But that was just like probably an overshare, but it felt weird to like not say why I might not be in the normal headspace, or it's also weird to be like in a joyful mood at all. Like, it's like that's not what you're supposed to do, but we need to recognize that grief is an individual experience for everyone. And it looks different for everybody. So yeah. So let's talk about some stuff. Yeah. What else? Oh, let's do VKNs. So we're gonna have VKNs if you're a patron of the podcast. I'll put information out on the Patreon webpage. Usually what I do is I'll announce them, and then like 15 minutes or so before they're scheduled, I'll send out the Zoom link so that you can join in. For February, they will be February 19th at 9 p.m. And that's Eastern time, so it's like New York City time. And then February 27th at noon. So those are our VKNs this month. And what else feels like administration? Yeah, I think that's the administrative stuff. Yeah, okay. So what I think we'll talk about today is there'll be a shop update. I'll talk about shameless self-promotion. I'll put in jumps, so if you don't want to watch, you can just skip ahead. I'll talk a little bit about some sewing that I have done, both garment sewing and some craft sewing I have done. And I'll talk about a couple knitting projects that I have finished. And I didn't bring anything that's in progress. That's okay. I'll just talk about those things. So, first of all, shameless self-promotion. There will be an update in the shop on February 15th at 9 p.m. I'm trying to start doing... I am going to start doing updates on the 1st and the 15th of each month at the fatsquirrel.com. No, fatsquirrelfibers.com. I mean, that'll get you there eventually, but fatsquirrelfibers.com. So yeah, so the 15th for this one, and then I'll have another update March 1st in all likelihood. But okay, so this update is all quilters cottons. So they're all interfaced. They all have an unbleached cotton lining. It's like, is it the mailman? Is it UPS? Who knows? But so this is a fabric that I was talking about last time I found at my local quilt store. I'm lucky enough to have several in Indianapolis. But this one is actually close enough to ride my bike to, although I did not ride my bike to it because we had like 8 inches of snow or something like that. So that's not happening. But anyway, so I went in to drop off a quilt to be quilted. They don't provide the service, but they are so kind that they offer like a drop-off point for a local person who does long arm. And when I was in, I fell down, and this is fabric needed to come home. So this, I really wish I bought more of this because like when you see the other print, it's very basic compared to them, but it is so beautiful. It has sort of like an improv log cabin kind of feel to it. And it's these great colors with a little pop of pink, but you've got nice winey kind of burgundies and some nice jewelry greens with some blue as well. And it's just, I don't know why, but I really am drawn to this. I didn't get enough of it. But these are all coordinates. So, so this is the sock size. This is a large wedge. And do you see those guys? Some of them are giving side eye. Some of them are a little grumpy-ish. Just grumpy-ish. But they're all ridiculously charming. Ridiculous. It's got lint on it, sorry. So linty in my house. So you can see, right? You got a thing. Okay, now are you ready? How beautifully bananas is this nonsense? So it's the cats. I mean, this dude's my favorite. But, oh, where is he? Right here. He is my absolute I mean, come on. What are you even gonna do? It's so lovely. And like, can I just say how much I love this like ochre kind of like Quince and Company honey, kind of like, it's somewhere between an ochre and like a pond scum green with all of the pinks and teals. It is just one of my favorite combinations. And then this feels like it's like Where's Waldo level of amazing. So this is the Aran sweater. So this is a big guy. This is actually the size I use the most, kind of like as a catch-all, but it'll hold a sweater for even like a big person like me, or like an Afghan project or whatever. It's quite huge. You know, you could put your head in it and your friend's head in it. I mean, you would be very intimate, but that's what crafts are all about, y'all. It's about the intimate connections that you form by sticking your heads in project bags together. I mean, I think Elizabeth Zimmerman said that. I'm not sure. But just like this beautiful, chaotic cityscape with these Key West houses and these cats in dresses and there's this bird and it's just delicious and scrumptious. And like, oh, and this guy, I mean, come on. Right? I mean, really, it should have been like a Scholastic Find a Thing print. Because then you could just like knit and read a cereal box and also play Find a Hidden Object with your knitting bag. I mean, that sounds like a pretty good day. So again, those will be in the shop February 15th. And then, okay, so then let's talk about sewing. One sort of thing that I think I'm just going to mention. is that I've had several people on and off, not like a ton, but several people ask me about a lot of pattern makers now provide PDFs of their patterns. Many of them offer print, like traditional printed patterns as well. But lots of them also provide PDFs, especially if you're in an extended size, like if they're newer to offering like a size 16 and up, sometimes they'll offer them first as PDFs. I'm assuming just for like distribution. I don't know why, whatever. Why am I making excuses? But some of you have asked, like, what do you do with that? Like, there's usually what happens is when you buy them, a lot of times they'll come in like a zip file or whatever. And then what they typically have is the instructions is one file. They'll have what's called an A0 file, which is kind of like a poster size. It's 36 by 40, I think. Sometimes they're called architectural size if you go to like a Kinko's or something. And sometimes they'll also have, and then they usually also have like a print at home file where you print it on just a regular printer and then you tape it all together and then cut it out. And then lots of times now there's some folks are starting to offer overhead projector files. So that's becoming, I would not say it's becoming common yet, but it is becoming, I'm seeing it more often than I used to. But I've had some people ask, like, well, you know, if you get them printed locally, they are usually quite expensive to get the AO files printed. Now, I kind of like having the PDF and then printing off, because for me, it feels like, oh, if I make this for myself, and I'm going to be honest, I don't just trace off my pattern lots of times I just cut it out. So I might say, I might just want to make it, and then I might realize, like, you know, maybe 2 years down the road, I realize, oh, I'm a different size now, and it may not be all there, like when I need to change it. Or like, say I want to make my mom something and she's several sizes smaller than me, or my teen, or whatever. So I do like having the PDF. In many ways, it feels like it's kind of more secure. But it does mean you have to get it printed. And if you get it printed locally, for me anyway, some people are local to a place that prints those files at a good price. But for example, like Office Max, Staples, FedEx, you know, you're looking at anywhere typically from $7 to $9 a page. And almost every pattern is at least 2 pages. Sometimes if you're doing like a coat or like overalls or something, it might be like 4. Or if the pattern has like lots of different options, like different views on the pattern. So you may be spending like $30 to get this thing printed, which, you know, whatever, your money is your money. But for me, that's kind of out of what I want to invest. So you do have other options if you're willing to wait just a little bit. What I have historically used is pdfplotting.com. They have a very good price. I think it's like less than $2 a page for the A0 files. But they do have a minimum order, and they do ship UPS. So they ship the patterns rolled, like, and then they ship them in like that triangular box, you know, like you were getting a poster or something shipped in. So their shipping cost is a little bit more than, for example, there's a couple of I know there's lots of other places that print them, but I've used a couple of other places. For example, I've used U Fibers. So U Fine Fiber Goods, U like a sheep U. They sell fiber, they sell yarn, they sell fabric, and they also offer PDF printing. So they will send your patterns folded, and they'll send them just in this like nice craft mailer. And I think they're just like slightly more than $2 a page. And then of course there is shipping. Now you can, if you purchase from them, I think they have one of those, like you spend X number of dollars, you get free shipping. So if, for example, they have a fabric that you want to make your pattern with, then you could, you know, one stop it and get both of those in one with free shipping. And then I've also used, this is a company called The Plotted Pattern Printing. They're the Plotted Pattern on Instagram and Facebook. And again, they're a similar price point. They're a little bit more than $2 a page. And they send them in these little like waxed paper envelopes. So this is nice if you're getting them and you just kind of want to, you're not ready to cut them out yet or work with them yet. You know, you can kind of, the paper rolls, like the rolled up patterns, kind of create like a, like, where do I store this kind of conundrum. Whereas, you know, these guys that are folded flat, it makes it a little bit easier to store until you get around to cutting them out. Now, of course, that does mean that they are folded. So there are some creases and stuff. That doesn't bother me. I'm like 95% precise. I'm like 97% precise. I try to be precise, but it doesn't usually really bring me out if it's not exactly correct. Now that is one of the reasons I don't like to print and tape patterns, is because lots of times I do get stressed out doing that because it's hard to get them exactly taped together, like perfectly perfect. And for some reason that does stress me out. I don't know why. because there is theoretically a way to do it perfectly. Whereas when I'm cutting out like a knit or something, I'm like, just do your best. You know, it's going to move a little bit. It's going to shift a little bit. Just do your best. Take your time. Be careful. But like, life will go on if it's a little bit off. You can even up the hem later. But anyway, so yeah, so those are the 3 places I have used and have had good luck with all of them. I would say that amongst the 3, from the time of ordering to the time of receipt, pdfplotting.com is the fastest. And then U-Fibers, for me, I think it's just like a location. I don't know where the plotted pattern is. But U-Fiber is in North Carolina, I think. I'm sorry, Charlottesville, Virginia. So it's going to probably just depend on how long they take for USPS to get to you or whatever, if they have other options. So yeah, so that's just a basic thing I want to bring up. And then let's talk about some stuff I have sewn. So the first thing is something I won't show you. It's a craft sewing. I won't show you the whole thing because it is in testing and I didn't think to ask to get permission to show it to you, but I'll just show you a little tiny bit. So my pattern that I am testing for Rebecca Danger, whose new media handle is B in the studio, like the letter B. Let me look at that to make sure. Yes, I know I have a low battery. Yes, Instagram. Oh, did you see that So Liberated is offering some building skills courses? I don't know what those are going to look like, but I will say that their instructions are always, they're the instructions that I find the most thorough for like a newer sewist of the things I have made. Now, I have not made patterns from everybody yet. I don't think I've made a Helen's Closet. But there's definitely certain pattern companies that I have not made their things yet. And so everybody, just like a knitting pattern, everybody has kind of a different style. And I do find that their patterns are very approachable. They don't assume a lot of prior knowledge. So if you're interested in learning more about sewing, I do test sew for them, which I am paid for, but I am not paid for any actual endorsements. I just do believe that their patterns are very nicely written for beginner sewists, especially. So yes, I just saw that they're going to offer sew classes, which is exciting if you're interested in learning more about sewing or anything like that, and you like their aesthetic. I just thought I'd put that out there. But this quilt that I am making right now is B, the letter B, dot in the studio. And that's our Rebecca Danger, who did a lot of the knitting monsters. So she's going to be doing some more quilt designing. And so I don't know when it is supposed to be released, but I do believe maybe mid to late February. I'm not entirely sure. But I am excited. I got it back from the quilter here in Indianapolis, and I've never had anything long armed before. Um, like I've never sent a quilt out to be quilted, but this is a queen size quilt, and because I was doing it for a test sew, I didn't want to. I was just afraid I would not be able to get it done, and to get it to look professional. Well, I mean, that's not necessarily true. But like, I was afraid that trying to quilt a queen size quilt on the machine I had might have been more of a challenge than I was up to within a constrained period of time. How's that? So I decided to send it out to be long armed, and I'm pleased with it though, because I wasn't sure, because it's those fabrics that I showed you, the Make-Our, the hedgerow fabrics. I'll just show you this because this is not telling you too much, right? It's those little motif ones. And so I wasn't sure. I don't like really dense quilting. It just, to me, I like the way it looks. It does make the quilt, to me, more rigid than I want it. And I really just super duper love the look of like 1x1 or whatever grid quilting, where you just like quilt verticals and horizontals. Or even just verticals, or whatever, just one line, I don't care. But I like the look of straight line quilting, and so I was a little bit afraid when I sent it to the long arm person that, whatever. But I liked this one that they had. It was sort of like, it kind of, I don't know, it's just like nested squares, like they're all interconnected, but it's not regular. It's an irregular, like squares and rectangles, and so it's like an edge-to-edge design, so it's nothing specially done. Like, it's not like a specialty thing or anything. But I like the way it looks because it reads very much, especially from a distance, it reads kind of as that grid look that I really like. So I'm very pleased with it, and I look forward to showing you when it's time. Somebody asked me, maybe in the notes, and I did not answer you, I apologize, but somebody asked me about quilts for beginners, and I must tell you that I am too beginner of a person to know. So it was like a bigger question that I knew how to answer in like a YouTube response. So I don't have a specific one that I would say like, that's great. I would just say there are several different things that can present a challenge when you're knitting. One of them can just be like color, like what to do with color, and things like that. And for that, if that's something that stresses you out, there are pre-cuts and things like that where you get like a whole fabric line, and like a jelly roll, or there's like all sorts of pre-cuts, layer cakes and jelly rolls, and those are Moda's names, but then there are other names in other companies that are the same thing, but that's just not their brand, like their TM or whatever. So like those are, usually they kind of say like, if you go to your library and just find a quilt that you like the look of, try to find things that are, I would say squares are easier than, triangles are easier than curves. So if you like, just like that's kind of just a general, bigger pieces are easier than small pieces. And then, other than that, just pick something that you like. Lots of times there will be like jelly roll books or things like that that'll say that they're beginner friendly, or, go to your local quilt store and they'll probably have good suggestions for you. But I don't have a tried and true, like, this is a great place to start. And it's just like knitting, you can start with like a small accessory thing, like a little table runner or a candle mat, or, there's all sorts of different entry points. You don't have to start. I definitely would not start with like a queen size quilt. If you're like, I don't want an accessory, I want an actual thing, baby quilts, of course, but if you don't have babies in your life, which I don't, you can make throw size quilts. That's where I started primarily. And that's a really great way. You're not investing a ton of money. Usually you can make them, with investment of dollars. It's not too crazy. If you make mistakes, there's less compounding of those mistakes. So, you know, if you're a 16th of an inch off and you only have 20 squares, you know, it's a lot easier than if you are a 16th of an inch off and you have 40 squares. Like those errors compound, they build up and make things more challenging. So it's definitely a good idea to start a little bit smaller. But I understand if you don't want to do like a wall hanging or a table runner, like if you just want like an actual thing, just pick something that's got, you know, straight lines. You know, half square triangles are pretty easy, but their points are a little bit clunky sometimes to get them to, they get a little thick. And you're also kind of like working on a bias where there's more stretch, so it's a little bit harder to be super precise. But yeah, so that was my unhelpful suggestion. You know, Missouri Star, Fat Quarter Shop are both huge fabric stores, like online fabric stores that are quilt focused, that put out tons of YouTube videos. So, you know, you might want to just kind of look through their YouTube videos to see if something sounds right or it looks like a project you might be interested in. That might be another way to kind of just dip your toe in, if you prefer that versus a book. So yeah, okay, garment sewing. Okay. I finished a couple of pairs of pants since we talked last time. So the first ones are the Arenite, and I apologize if I'm not saying that correct, but Arenite, and that is a pattern by Sew Liberated that I purchased myself. It was not, I did not test sew this. This is an older pattern of theirs. And it is a pair of pants that are, it's written for both knit and woven, so you can use either or. And it has several different, let me just get to the instructions so I can show you the line drawings. So it's elastic waist pant, and you can do, like I said, knit or woven. And there are a couple of different options for the bottom. You can do like an elasticated cuff. You can, I think I said that it was a casing, and I don't think that's correct now that I'm looking at it. But you can do an elasticated cuff. You can do an actual thicker cuff that's applied to the bottom of the pant, or you can just leave them just as a regular hem. So here are mine. Okay, so here are my pants in all their swishy glory. They are high-waisted, so this is like my bending waist, and this is they're probably 3 inches below my bra line, and they just have, I think it's a 2-inch elastic waist. I could be wrong about that. And then they have the fun pocket panel on the side. I love, like, again, I love a pocket that you could put like an like you could probably put a laptop in here if your elastic was just more secure. But you could definitely put like an iPad in there if you're just feeling sassy. I don't know. But I really like them. I am 5, I'm thinking, because I used to think I was 5'7", but now I think I'm like 5'6.5" or something. I do have a long waist, so my legs are shorter than the average person my height, but I did not do any alterations to this pair. This is like straight up just right off the pattern sheet in the largest size. The pattern has options for the leg opening and the width, so you can make this pattern both in knit, which is what these are, or you can make it in a woven. And there's options for a narrower leg, and then there's options for a cuff, like an actual like wide cuff, and there is option for like an elasticated cuff, or of course you can just make them hemmed. But yeah, here they are. Yay, pants! Yeah. And so this fabric is Telio, Telio, Telio. It's a stretch bamboo French terry, stretch bamboo rayon French terry. It's 66% bamboo, 27% cotton, and 7% lycra. And it's about 9 ounces per square yard. And I really like this fabric. Now, of course, I've only worn these about half a dozen times, but they don't show any signs. Let me look at the garage. They don't show any signs of pilling so far. No, not even there. Not even in the high friction areas. So yeah, I don't know how they're going to go long term, but they certainly seem like the fabric is doing nicely thus far. That's one of my big things. I really do not like pilling in knits. It kind of makes me bananas. In one way, for one reason is because I do so much sewing. I always have string on me. And when you have pills in knits, the string just like sticks to it. It will not come off. But I really liked this fabric. It's available in several colors. It's 60 inches wide. It's not terribly expensive. I want to say it's less than $15 a yard most places. That's not true. It is more expensive than I thought. I think I got this on sale. Okay. It's a little expensive. It's in the $25-ish a yard. But for me, that is, if it will hold up and not pill, I will happily pay that price. I really like the French terry because it feels like it has body. It feels like it has a good amount of drape. But it doesn't feel clingy. Like it doesn't have like that dimpling, like every little dimple in your butt or thighs shows through, which some knits do. And I also have made a Muna and Broad Hexam dress, which is like a t-shirt dress also with this, but I'm kind of working on, it was a tulip, like a cocoon shape, and I did something, I don't know, I'm sure it was me in terms of my skill level with working with knits, but the like kind of curve of the cocoon, it might just be because the fabric is a little bit heavier. Or again, just like I got the seam off or something, but I need to kind of just maybe even it up or something, but I'll show you that as well. But it definitely is lovely for a knit dress because it's definitely pajama level comfort, but I don't think it looks like pajamas. You might disagree. My standards are probably lower than yours. I mean, I am now officially like a no real bra human. I don't even know who I am. Me of my early 20s is rolling in her grave. I definitely was you must wear an underwear bra at all times. I mean, if you're not at home. I was militantly into assertive breast tissue. And now I just don't. You know, if it's a formal occasion, I might wear a real bra. I mean, I definitely will. But my life is filled with very few of those. So, yeah. So again, my secret pajamas that are not so secret might be very different than yours. But I love this fabric. I love the pocket design. I did have a little trouble, again, probably my own experience level, but like you sew a binding onto the pocket, onto this pocket. And when I did, my pocket was like about this much. Like when I applied the pocket as it was written, it wanted to bag out significantly more, which I just knew would get caught on stuff because klutz. So I did flatten that out a little bit. Like I took some of the fabric off the edge of that pocket so that it would lay a little bit closer to my body. But other than that, I did everything just as written. I did it completely on just my home sewing machine using the lightning stitch. I do like to stitch in the elastic. If you get non-roll elastic, it's pretty good but this was not non-roll because this is, I think, the 2-inch elastic. And so I hate it when the elastic rolls in on itself inside the casing. Like, I will just burn pants because of that. Not really, but I will imagine it colorfully in my mind. So I do like this technique of, you kind of stretch your waist, your elastic out and use like a basting length stitch to the longest stitch on your machine. I mean, unless you have a fancy machine that does really long stitches. I don't know. I use a 4. And I just really love that. I love that keeps the elastic flat, keeps it nicely. The only thing that is different is that if you, it makes it obviously much more difficult. You can't just open up a casing and shorten your elastic. If you get smaller and you need or if you need to put more elastic in, if you need them a little bit looser. So usually what I do is I wear them a few times before I sew the casing, I sew the elastic in. Just because you would just have to pick out all of that, which would not be fun. So yeah, that would be my only suggestion. But yeah, I sewed it all on my home sewing machine. We'll see how it launders and stuff, but so far I'm really pleased with this fabric. Yay! Oh, and then I also made a pair of Moona and Broad Birchgrove pants. They're made of the same fabric that I made my Thanksgiving dress in, my Merchant and Mills. I can't remember what the name of that dress was. It's like an empire waist. So here, this is the corduroy I had left over. So here are those pants. Okay, so here's Gus. And also my Birchgrove pants. This is a pattern by Moona and Broad. And it goes up to whatever size you are. So if you're above the size range that's printed on the pattern, they will custom grade the pattern for you to fit your measure, to fit your size, because they're amazing. So yeah, this is actually a stretch corduroy from Joann Fabrics. So I want to say it's 96% cotton and 4% spandex, but I could be wrong about that. And what I did is I made a size. I am technically between 2 sizes, and I am always worried about pants not fitting, which is hilarious because Moona and Broad's pants are always they always fit me generously. But so I kind of went up a size, and what I probably should have done, because of the weight of this fabric, I should have gone down like to the size below, of the smaller of the 2 sizes. Just because this is a heavier weight fabric. That said, I still like them, and they're basically a wearable muslin. But I have plenty of room because they have generous ease in them. So yeah, especially like if this were in a linen or something, I would actually want this much ease because it just makes, like when your percentage of ease, your ease for sitting is like a percentage of ease. And so at the bigger body you have, the more ease you need. And so in a woven, especially that doesn't have stretch in it, like a regular linen or something, I would want that much ease just for comfort. But if I were going to make them out of this fabric, or like a similarly heavy fabric, I would make a size smaller. And in fact, I had just cut out a pair that's actually, like for example, I wear an I, between an I and a J. And so I actually cut another pair in a G because it's a heavy, like a wider wale corduroy, and it does have some stretch in it. So I just wanted them to have less ease. But yeah, this is the pattern just as it is for that size. And again, this is my folding bending waist. Here is my, this is about 4 or 5 inches maybe. I don't know how things work. It's a finger length. below my bra line. And they fit generously all the way around. So yeah, they're super fun. They have very generous pocket bags. Again, like you can fit any phone ever made in there. They're basically the best. So yeah, what else? Oh, so this is the pair that I always have trouble with my elastic being too big. And so Knit Dye Read on Instagram mentioned that she pre-stretches her elastic. And like, that is such a great tip. And it's really basic. It's one of those things where you're like, why didn't I think about that? Because I always just think like, oh, I just measured my elastic wrong. Or like, I don't even actually measure it. I just put it around me and then think like, does that feel about right? Okay. So I always just kind of figure that I guesstimate incorrectly. But it is true, like I did do a little sample, and like if you stretch your elastic, it does get bigger on that first initial stretch. So yeah, from now on I'm going to try to remember to pre-stretch my elastic to help my pants stay up better. It's no big deal. All you have to do is open up your casing, just like a couple inches, pull your elastic out, splice it, and restitch it. So it's not a big deal, but you know, like if you have to change your thread, or it's just an inconvenience basically more than anything. But again, yeah, these are just as written. They do have a double fold in the hem, so if I make them again, I probably will take you know, like 3/4 inch maybe off of the bottom. But yay for pants that you can kick and punch and do squats. You know, like it's always a good thing. I got confused because I'm actually wearing them right now, so I got confused as to what else I was supposed to show you. I knew there was something. So yeah, those are those pants. I think I talked enough about them when I was just showing them to you. I'm excited about this pant. I was afraid that it might be too tapered for me. I do like not a completely wide leg pant because I will catch my feet in them and trip and fall. Because I'm classy like that. But I also don't like a super tapered pant. So these are kind of a nice in-between place for me. And I was afraid they might be too tapered, but they're perfect for me. And of course I could always widen the cuff if I wanted to, but I don't see that I would want to do that. So I did mention that I was going to size down for the corduroy pair that I'm making next. And what I did on those is I did leave the cuff the same width as this bigger size. So I did kind of just taper the leg slightly less. But I mean, it's like 1/2 inch on each leg or something. It's not a huge difference. I'm sure nobody would probably notice it except for me. So that's sewing. Something I want to tackle next is when I was at Crimson and Tate, I also fell down and bought this double gauze. This is it's a Kino, ECHINO, but I don't know if this has I don't know if it specifies a line. I guess it doesn't. It just is the manufacturer. But anyway, they always have beautiful double gauzes. And I don't like double gauze for my everyday clothes because for me it has that, the texture is, the texture is so soft and beautiful. And in fact, the saleswoman at the store was like, oh yes, wouldn't it be beautiful to back a quilt in that? And I was like, yes, it would. It would also be painfully expensive. But it would be beautiful to back a quilt in because it is a really nice texture. And I can imagine if it's quilted, it would be an even lovelier texture. Thanks for putting that in my head, lady. Oh, but I don't like them for like I don't like double gauze for like my everyday, like harder wearing things because the texture does kind of grab onto stuff. But I've been wanting to make, like the Remy Raglan has did an adaptation with as a pattern by Sew House 7. And anyway, just in general, there's lots of patterns that are coming out with like that bigger sleeve that's elasticated at the wrist or is cuffed at the wrist. And I would like to make that, I think, with this shirt, this fabric. I don't know. That's my idea anyway. I don't know. I've never had a sleeve like that, so I may hate it. But it looks fun. And it would look really fun, I was thinking, if you could wear it with like a sweater vest. I know, I really like the idea of that. Right? Like corduroy pants or wool pants, and you're kind of like flowy, like billowy sleeve that's kind of brought in, so it's not like, I don't like the sleeves that are really wide, the trend of sleeves that are really wide but not cuffed, because like I just would get lost in there and like I would clearly set it on fire because I would be cooking or something. I would set it on fire. But I do like the cuff. But anyway, so like it's like warm textured trousers with like a fun like whooshy shirt and like a sweater vest. Like, that would be so fun. I mean, part of me is like, the sleeve is confusing because it like, oh, you can't put a cardigan over that. Or if you did, it would be maybe weird. But I do think it'd be cute with like even just a 3/4 sleeve. Whatever. Or short sleeve. I don't know. I don't know things about fashion, but it is fun to play with. So yeah. So then let's talk about, okay, well this is sort of in between somewhere. I did get my February Loop subscription from, is it Twig and Acorn? I feel like I'm making everything up. Like I think I know it, and then I say it, and it sounds bananas. So, let's see. Okay, it's Acorns and Twigs, so it wasn't that far off. So they have a looping subscription. I've talked about it before. Again, I bought this my own money. I'm not endorsed by them. And in fact, I did in my subscription, not because I was in any way dissatisfied with it, but just because like, I was good. But this month's were Valentine's, and like, I'm so pleased with their Valentine's approach. Right? I love it. It's got pink, it's got peachiness, it's got ochre, it's got this like spicy rust color, it's got some natural in it. Like, isn't that a great take on Valentine's? I was so excited by this color combination. So the subscription has enough loops for 3 more, so I'll definitely be doing those. And these I make on the Harrisville Pro Loom. There are lots of looms out there, but that's the one I have, and I like it quite a lot. But yeah, I'm really, like, isn't that fun? Those are such fun colors. Not my usual colors at all, but very fun all the same. And then speaking of fun things, I finished my stripe study shawl, but then promptly did not take any pictures of it before I gave it to my friend. So I shared with you last time my stripe studies shawl that is a pattern by, I want to say it's by Vera. Am I making that up? Yes, Stripe Study by Vera Balamaki, and I made it with hand spun. The fiber was from String Theory, and the contrasting color, the black, was Nightshades from Harrisville, which I have a sweater out of that I love, and I loved it even more in garter stitch, the Nightshades. So let me look. I think she posted a picture of her shelf. She has been my friend since we were in freshman CP biology together. Right? How lucky am I? And she is cute as a button, and I finished her shawl, and she didn't seem like she was too weirded out by it. By the shape, because that's a slightly advanced shape for a non-knitter. It's an asymmetrical triangle. I personally love it. I just like the way it sits on the body, and I find it very wearable. We did have a slight tutorial about how to put it on your body, but I should have shown her the Stephen I gotta send her the Stephen West shawl, the how to wear a shawl video. I need to do that. But that was very enjoyable to knit. So yeah, and then I also finished. Speaking of Mr. Stephen West, I finished my dotted rays. So this is the advent that I made up, or that I had my teenager make up for me in 2020. That was a couple of bags of bits and bobs from Into the World. Sorry, I think. And I just, the teen just kind of put them in envelopes for me. I opened them and spun them and chain plied them. So, you know, the colors are all over the place. But boy, so enjoyable to knit. Right? I mean, this pattern is, I mean, it's kind of like not my most favorite shape. But it is, because it's a little bit taller than it is. I need it to be a little bit longer so that I can really go around a few times with it. So what I've done with my other one that I wear is I actually put a, like a shawl pin in it, and I just put it on like a cowl now. That works best for me, but oh, this is such an enjoyable pattern. Right. So fun to make. It's great for using up. It's a little bit hard to estimate because you have a I-cord bind off, so it's a little bit hard to estimate to use up every bit of your yarn. And like, I did not complete a full pattern repeat, so like in the pattern as written, these holes would actually be right against the I-cord like they are here. See, this is where I stopped doing the repeat. But you can totally do that and get away with it. But it is a little bit harder to estimate exactly how much yarn you'll need for doing an I-cord. I mean, you can always do a sample and just math it out. But I was far too lazy to do that. I mean, come on. I was watching snowboarding, y'all. So yeah, so enjoyable. I could just knit I could totally knit this pattern like constantly, especially with hands bun. I could just keep going. So yeah, like right now I think I have socks on the needles, and I need to pick up my colorwork sweater again. Or maybe I need to knit my pink sweater. I don't know. Not sure. Is that... Oh! There was one thing I think that I've not shown you yet. I could be wrong. Maybe I did show you this. But in case I didn't, I also completed a Susan B. Anderson snowman for Christmas. I gave it to my mom for Christmas, but then I didn't want to show it because I didn't want to spoil the surprise. But then also I think I just kept forgetting to show it because that's definitely who I am. But he is quite cute. And it's a pattern by Susan B. Anderson. I mean, I don't even know it's probably called Snowman or something like that. And he is just, I mean, the most charming thing about him are his little stick arms. Like, are you kidding me? So of course I was out like, 2 days before Christmas in the front yard trying to find sticks that would work for snowman arms. And you know what? I mean, it sounds like an easy ask, right? It's surprisingly not. I needed a much more, I mean, it would be a great, and she said this herself, that Susan said this herself, that it's a great reason to like go take a walk with your family and hunt for snowman arms. But we just were not in that place on that day. So I was out like in the, just in the yard, like, I wonder if these hydrangea branches, nope, those are too thick. Oh no, we've already cut down the blackberries. Maybe we shouldn't have done that. So yeah, but this is it is just called Snowman by Susan B. Anderson. And Susan always writes the most lovely patterns. It is knit in one piece. I mean, obviously, except for the hat and the scarf, but the snowman himself. She has great instructions about how to apply, use safety eyes both for the eyes of the snowman and his little coal buttons, which is so charming. She gives you great instructions for how to place those so that you're not kind of guessing and hemming and hawing and trying to figure that out at the end. It takes real talent for me for a 3D knitwear, like a pattern, like a softie designer, for you. When you look at the projects on the pattern page, there are some designers whose main photo, like their pattern photo, is beautiful, and then there's a huge variation when you look at pattern the pattern as knit by other people. There might be a huge variation on what that item looks like. And so for me, I like, if I can, to pick patterns where there is less variation in the folks made items, because that really tells me that that's a well-written pattern, that everything is clearly indicated, like where you're supposed to put certain style elements, and like the finishing instructions are included, and all of those things that really make a consistent product for knitters, versus it being a more versus it being a pattern that relies more on my interpretation as a knitter of like where I should put the eyes. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that at all. But usually when I pick a stuffy pattern, I want it to look like the project that I have, or the pattern that I've picked. So, oh my gosh, I should need to stop talking. Okay. So yeah, okay. I'm gonna stop. Shop update. Knit nights. Yeah. I'll see you in a few weeks. Take care. I'll talk next time. Bye.